Namaste seekers, welcome to Pururava's Pursuit. In today's video, let us have a look at the Sthalapuranam or the local history of Simhachalam and its historicity. We shall also see at the end of this video the purpose of this YouTube channel. Chapter 1, The Story. The story of the origin of Simhachalam is as follows. Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers of the celestial abode of Lord Vishnu, were cursed to be born as demons by the Lord for the disrespect they showed to some visiting sages. They were born as Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha to the sage Kashyapa and grew into mighty demon lords bent upon disturbing the peace of the world. The younger of the two, Hiranyaksha, seized the earth and carried it to nether regions. Lord Vishnu delivered the earth from the clutches of the demon by assuming the boar incarnation Varaha Avatara. Aggrieved by the death of his brother, Hiranyakasipu wanted to avenge the death of his brother. He added to his might the power of penance and began to punish the gods and sages, the devotees of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu had to once again rescue the world from the menace of this demon. Then the Lord made one of his servants, Sumukha, to be born as the son of Hiranyakasipu. This son of Hiranyakasipu, named Prahalada, became a devotee of Vishnu even from his birth and thus brought upon himself the wrath of his father. Hiranyakasipu tried to mend the ways of his erring son, but when he found him to be adamant, made him undergo severe hardships. He made the elephants trample over him and set poisonous snakes against him. Prahalada, protected as he was by the divine grace, stood firm. Hiranyakasipu, as a last resort, asked his servants to throw his son into the sea and place a huge mountain over him. His servants chose to drop Prahalada in the sea near the Mount Simhadri with a view to place the mountain over him. But before they could complete their act, Lord Narayana rescued him by jumping over the hill and lifting up Prahlada from the sea. Simhadri or Simhachalam is thus the place where the Lord rescued Prahlada. The form of Varaha Narasimha was assumed by him then at the prayer of his devotee Prahlada, who wanted to see both the aspects of the Lord, the one by which he had already killed Hiranyaksha and the other by which he would kill Hiranyakasipu. According to the Sthalapurana, Prahlada was the first person to construct a temple round the deity. He accomplished this after his father's death at the hands of Narasimha. But at the end of that life cycle, Krita Yuga, the temple was neglected and began to decay. Even the deity was not taken care of, and crests of earth slowly gathered round the image. But at the beginning of another life cycle, the Lord once again was discovered by Pururava of the lunar dynasty. Pururava, with his spouse Urvashi, riding on an aerial chariot over the hills of the south, was drawn to the Simhachala by a mysterious power. He discovered the Lord on the hill lying embedded in crests of earth. He cleared the earth round the image of the Lord. Then he was addressed by the Akashvani not to expose the image and cover it with sandal paste. It also added that the Lord should be worshipped in this form and only once in a year, on the third day in the month of Vaishakha, his NIJASWARUPA can be revealed. Acting under the instructions of Akashvani, the king applied over the image an amount of sandalwood paste which is equal to the earth he had removed, worshipped the deity, and built the temple once again round the image. This time, the temple continued to flourish forever. Chapter 2, Historicity of the Story. The story of Prahlada can be found in Vishnu Purana and Bhagavata Purana, but it is interesting to note that the story of Jaya, Vijaya, and Sumukha and that of the king Pururava are not mentioned in Vishnu Purana. Similarly, Lord Vishnu assuring Prahlada that he would kill Hiranyakasipu and appear at Simhachala as Varaha Narasimha is also not mentioned in Vishnu Purana. Sthalapuranas of the Telugu country, a thesis written by Dr. V.G. Krishnamacharyalu, observes that most of the Sthalapuranas of the Telugu country were composed after the attempted establishment of Islam in Andhra during the 14th century. The Islam offered a threat to the religious life of the Hindus, and a number of efforts were made to tackle it. The composition of the Sthalapuranas was one such effort. Sthala offer a vivid description of the Kshetra and the sanctity of its waters. Dr. Krishnamacharyalu points out that the writers of the Sthala who wrote them in honor of the shrines dedicated to Narasimha, tried to associate the stories written long ago in Puranas to places they were writing about. According to his work, The Simhachalam Temple, Dr. K. Sundaram says, and I quote, though the Sthalapuranam depicts the temple from the mythological viewpoint, it cannot be brushed aside as utterly useless from the historical standpoint. For an inscription from the temple of the 13th century makes a reference to the story of King Pururava contained in the Sthala Mahatya. The purpose of the inscription is to record that Veera Shri Narasimha Deva or Narasimha I arranged for the stay of 100 sanis in the temple for singing in the presence of the Lord and to catalogue the names of 100 sanis. The inscription compares this act of munificence to the similar gifts made by Pururava in the past. Thus, the inscription shows that even in the 13th century, the tradition that King Pururava revived the glory of the temple was cherished. Though we cannot on this account push the antiquity of the temple to the days of Pururava of the Puranas, yet we can say that in the 13th century, the temple was cherished as possessing a hoary antiquity. Coming to the timeline of this Sthalapuranam, Dr. K. Sundaram says, though the Sthalapuranam utilizes the tradition which were current in the 13th century, it can be demonstrated that it was a much later composition. The Purana claims that it was part of the Skanda Purana, which may be considered as the earliest text belonging to this class of literature. But it is not to be found in the Skanda Purana, even though the Sthala Puranas of other Vishnu shrines like Puri and Tirupati are included in the Skanda Purana. The Kshetra itself is not specifically mentioned in any of the ancient Puranas. The Sthalaparana is not referred to in any of the literary works of the medieval period, but literary compositions based on the Sthalaparana appear only in the 17th and 18th centuries. An inscription of 1604 mentions that religious life of temple was revived after 40 years of inactivity from 1564 to 1604 AD. This religious inactivity in Simhachalam was due to the decline of the Vijayanagara Empire, followed by region's transition to Muslim rule. After the setback, Sthalaparana was composed to propagate the sanctity of this place. Considering these facts, it can be assumed that the Sthalaparana was composed in the early part of the 17th century. Chapter 3. What is Pururava's Pursuit? I would like to define Pururava's Pursuit as a platform for discussion on perspectives related to history, archaeology, culture, and related disciplines in a healthy and objective manner. The name of the channel, Pururava's Pursuit, is inspired from the actions of King Pururava, who happened to see the Lord, cleared up the mud crests, and consecrated the idol. He rebuilt the temple. Mythical or real, I found Pururava's story to be one of the earliest records of archaeological conservation. The title, Pururava's Pursuit, emphasizes that local history in oral or written forms must not be neglected and, in fact, must be celebrated in the form of intangible heritage. That's all in today's video. If you found this video to be informative and if you feel the topics discussed about in this channel are of some interest to you, do like, share and subscribe. Thank you. Jai Hind.